Trey Lance at number 24, right behind Tua, Geno, Jalen Hurts, Baker, Mariota, Mac Jones, Jameis Winston, Ryan Tannehill, Kirk Cousins, Trevor Lawrence. Those quarterbacks are all more equipped to go into week one as starting quarterbacks than Trey Lance, according to Stephen Ruiz of The Ringer, who joins us right now. Stephen, any issues with the way I just laid that out, or is that pretty accurate?
No, that's definitely accurate. We did set up the rankings to be updated every week, so I refrain from doing too much projection. And I do think Lance is a quarterback that will be a big riser throughout the season. I have that much faith in the coaching staff and his talent.
So I guess maybe some further explanation might be needed even in this moment, like Geno Smith being ahead of Trey Lance. Are we talking just experience? Because I would think that even just a skill set and the team around him would suggest that you're going to get more out of Trey Lance than Geno Smith pretty quickly, no?
I kind of disagree. I'm admittedly higher on Geno than most. I think he's gotten a raw deal throughout his NFL career. But the reason why I would take him over over Lance right now is that I think he's a more accurate quarterback. I think you could run a more traditional offense, I'd say, with him, and you can have confidence in him reading out the concepts as they're drawn up in the playbook. I do think that's one of the reasons why he's so underrated is people don't realize how good he is in the pocket. I think he's confident in the pocket. Like, he'll hang in the pocket and give his receivers a chance to get open downfield. And then I think he can make the layup throws more consistently than Lance. That's the one thing I wanted to see out of his film last year, and we didn't really see it. Now, I think there's a good chance that we do see it on this year's film. And if that's the case, he's going to shoot right up these rankings by like October.
Are you related in any way to Geno Smith? No, I'm looking at your list, and I'll give you most of these quarterbacks in front of Lance, but the ones I won't give you is Tua, Geno, Mariota, Winston, and Tannehill, and Lawrence, for that matter. So those are the ones. If I had this list, I'd probably have Trey at 18. But what exactly goes into the criterion that got to these, to the conclusion that you've arrived at?
In regard to Trey Lance, I would say his ability to make the throws. I think that's one of the most important abilities an NFL quarterback can possess. And one thing you could say about his film last year, and again, this is based on his film last year, it's not based on a projection of what he could be. I think he had a problem making the throws. Like, he didn't have much of a problem getting through the process and finding the right receivers, but when it came time to make throws, and sometimes it was easy throws, he sailed them a lot, he just missed them. I think accuracy is the biggest concern with him going forward. But again, if he figures that out and he can hit the layups, then the sky's the limit.
Stephen Ruiz, The Ringer, and the quarterback list is with us here on 95.7 The Game. I actually do have some non-Trey Lance-related questions, even though we probably have more there too. But I think there are some things that on the surface would surprise people right away. You have Josh Allen at 5. How's he not higher?
Who should he be higher than? That's my question. Now, I do think the formula I came up with kind of underrates him because he is a unique quarterback in that his accuracy isn't the best. I think it's improved a lot. It's better than Lance's, obviously. And I do think his decision-making is kind of spotty, but just all that physical talent makes up for it. But I do think week to week, consistently, it's hard to rely on him. Like we saw last year, a couple stinkers he had. They lost to the Jaguars, and it was one of the worst performances that a quarterback had last year. And I think that counts for something. Consistency accounts for something. And I do think the perception of what Josh Allen's season was last year is based on that Chiefs game and the Patriots game in the playoffs. But he had a lower yards per attempt than Carson Wentz. I mean, that matters for something.
You had Rodgers at the top of the list, and back-to-back MVPs. It's funny, people said that he played horribly in the playoff game against the 49ers. You take away a couple drops in that game in 1 degree, and I think he completed almost 80% of his passes against a very good Niner defense. How much pushback did you get since Rodgers has kind of universally been, taken out back and beaten up for his whole COVID stance? How much blowback did you get putting A-Rod number 1?
It's still early, but I'm hearing some pushback from like Chiefs fans, which is understandable. If I was a Patrick Mahomes fan, I would argue for him being the best quarterback in the league, but not too much. I think people realize what Rodgers has become for that offense. He's just the focal point of it. And really, like, you look at the top of the league, and I think the NFL is so interesting right now because the top quarterbacks are, like, good in their very unique ways. Like, the way Tom Brady succeeds is way different from the way, like, Mahomes, Rodgers, or Allen succeed. And I would say that Rodgers kind of steals a bit from everyone's game. Like, he can do the mobility thing. He can do, like, the trick shot throws like Patrick Mahomes. He does, like, the no-look throws like Matt Stafford. He's the smart pre-snap quarterback like Tom Brady. So, like, if you're looking for a quarterback with just a complete skill set, I don't know how you can argue against Aaron Rodgers.
Stephen, the fantasy community would spit up their oatmeal to hear you put Jalen Hurts 5 slots behind Ryan Tannehill. What's going on there?
Well, my goal is to make the fantasy community throw up.
Yeah,
I consider that a compliment. But no, I think he has a long ways to go before we can say that he's a good quarterback. But what I can say right now is he's not a bad quarterback. He's useful, and he's useful because of the reasons that he's so valuable in fantasy, because he's the heart of that run game, and you know you're going to get a good run game if you have him behind center. The question with him is, can he start to make the scheme throws, like the throws that Jimmy Garoppolo used to make off play action, the crossers? If he can make those throws, I think he can start for a long time in this league. If he remains the same player, I think he's the type of quarterback you want on a rookie deal, but once you get past that and you have to pay him, you might want to move on.
The two guys that I thought should have been way higher on this list were two guys in their second year, Davis Mills and Zach Wilson. Mills had a high completion percentage, and without a great surrounding cast, I thought played as well as almost any rookie quarterback I saw last year. And Zach Wilson, I think almost you got to throw out that first part of the year and look what he was after the injury, and still behind, terrible line, no receivers. He looked pretty good down the stretch. I thought he's way too low there. I think he's going to ascend on this list.
Like for Davis Mills, I honestly don't understand the hype. I think I know what it's based on. It's based on there was an expectation for him, and he exceeded that playing on a bad team. But when you watch the film, like that completion percentage is I think it misrepresents what he is. He had the highest rate of failed completions in the league. That means, like, I'm throwing a completion for 3 yards on 3rd and 10. Like, that goes down as a completion. Your completion percentage gets a boost, but does it help the team win games? No, it does not. And for my money, he's one of the most conservative quarterbacks in the league. He'll bail out of clean pockets. He'll throw an early check down, even if he has a guy open downfield. And I have, like, personal taste in quarterbacks, and I will admit that these rankings are very subjective and based on that. And he's just not my type of quarterback. He's not a playmaker, and I don't think he's a prototypical pocket passer either. I'm not high on his future, and I'm, like, very confident saying that. As for Zach Wilson, I just want to see him make one play in structure. Even like his good stretch down, like in December, all of his big plays came outside of the pocket. And until he can prove that he can make plays, explosive plays within the pocket, I don't think you can be confident in him going forward.
Stephen Ruiz, NFL writer, The Ringer, quarterback list. All right, this weekend, Soldier Field. We haven't mentioned Justin Fields, who you've got 4 slots below Trey Lance. This, in many ways, a fun mano-a-mano matchup from last year's draft. Give everybody sort of a preview of what you've seen on tape with these two quarterbacks and what each team is hoping that they'll do once the season starts.
I think that Trey Lance is what people thought Justin Fields would be, just based on seeing him at Ohio State. Obviously, no one was watching North Dakota State games. I don't think they were really, like, familiar with Trey Lance's game.
Right.
But, like, Trey Lance does, like, all the smart QB things. Like, he ran a pro-style offense. I think he's sharp before the snap. I think he knows how to work the pocket, and he's willing to stay in it. Whereas Justin Fields, like, I like Justin Fields' film coming out of Ohio State, and I really want him to succeed, and I think the league will be better if he does. But you just watch his film, and it's just, like, time after time, he just makes the wrong decision. And, like, every now and then, he'll make a good decision and make, like, a fantastic throw, and you're like, and it, like, kind of reels you back in. But then, like, 95% of his throws, it's just, there was a better play to make, and you didn't make it. And that's why it's, like, hard for me to project that going forward. I want to see it first. Like, Trey Lance, you kind of see it. didn't have the accuracy last year. But with Fields, it wasn't just accuracy; it was the decisions that really concern you.
Steven, really interesting stuff, man. Thank you so much for hopping on today.
Thanks for having me.